But speaking of elite quarterback play, next thing we got to talk about, we got to give some shine to the Pac-12 conference in their final year of existence. They have
Mm-hmm.
blessed college football with some terrific performances, some classic games, and some wonderful matchups. I remember growing up, Pac 12 After Dark was a big thing. If you were a college football fan, you were watching ESPN at 10 o'clock to watch those West Coast games, or what grew into what Fox Sports. That's what I remember. A lot of USC games were on Fox Sports. We used to watch that. Now, in their final year, we're getting some of the best consistent football and best performances
Oh
from
yeah,
the quarterback position in that conference. So,
most
since he's
definitely.
he's our resident Pac-12 guy, I'm gonna let Brad talk to the people. Why is the Pac-12 must-see TV?
The style of the Pac-12, when it comes to the passing of the ball and the style of the recruits they have, this has always been a thing with Pac-12 quarterbacks. Some of the biggest quarterbacks in the NFL has came out of the Pac-12, and some of the best receivers and different things have came out of the Pac-12 in college football. So I think it's just a culmination of what they've always been, that kind of that West Coast offense, a lot of great quarterbacking, receiving, things of that nature. You have Washington, you have USC, you have Oregon, you have Utah, Washington State, Oregon State. You have a lot of good teams in the Pac 12, and you know it's going to be an SEC like dogfight to the finish line. Also, we got to call it what it is. The landscape of college football has changed with the transfer portal, right? So you got a lot of kids transferring out west, going out west, taking some of those initial offers they had because maybe something didn't work out for them in Georgia, or something didn't work out in Alabama, or something didn't work out at an Ohio State or one of the bigger schools, and they're at a Washington State, they're at an Oregon State, they're at a Cal, they're at UCLA. We can't forget about UCLA. Right now, they have two of the most dominant defensive linemen in college football. So it's a lot going on. Then we got Rashada out, went out west. Oregon's cleaning up on the recruiting trail. UCLA got what's the quarterback name? I forget the kid's name, but they got him as well. So I just think it's a combination of the consistency of what the Pac-12 philosophy is, coupled with the landscape changing of college football. But yes, all these games have been must see. It's now no longer let's pay attention to USC to see if they make it to compete with everybody else. Now, like I said, you got the Michael Penix, you got the Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, you got DJ over there at Oregon State. And Rashad is going to be coming up too, but the Pac 12 is going to be disbanded by that. But I hope the Pac 12 goes out with a huge bang. USC wins the national championship. Of course, I hope. But yeah,
I
it's
like it.
great
I like it.
television for sure. It's definitely great television.
All right, Eric, what are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts on the Pac-12?
It's absolutely insane this year. Like right now, as it stands, my top five Heisman candidates are all from the Pat. Like
That's crazy, ain't it?
I, you sit here and you think about it. 9 times out of 10, there's at least three SEC guys. Throw an Ohio State, throw an Oklahoma, Texas, something like that in there. But like legitimately, I've got my top five are all Pac-10 or Pac-12 quarterbacks,
I feel
and
that.
I never would have thought about it. And I mean, we were talking about underachievers too, and the quarterback play in the Pac-12. Look at what Utah's done without Cam Rising.
Without their guy,
Yeah,
exactly.
like
Mm-hmm.
they've been running the
Mm-hmm.
second and third string quarterbacks for the majority of the year so far, and still undefeated. They beat an SEC team like
Mm-hmm.
without their starting quarterback. You believe, and hey, it's hard to not believe unless they're playing an SEC team. Caleb Williams, reigning defending Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said about UCLA, might be the most dominant defensive line in college football right now. They're giving you reasons to stay up to watch the Pac-12 after dark. And I'm gonna be honest, I had to go to works that Sunday after the Colorado State game. I didn't care. I didn't care. I
Yeah.
stayed up to 3 o'clock in the morning watched that whole game, was
Definitely.
thoroughly entertained by it. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I will do it again. We've got
That's right.
some banger matchups coming up still, and I wouldn't be shocked if two Pac-12 teams are in the playoffs. Would not
Oh,
shock me.
that's a hot take. I feel that though. I feel that. I mean, that's the reason why I think it's must see TV is you guys have already mentioned the quarterback play. Their quarterback play compared to every other conference is second to none. Like, you can take the third and fourth best Pac-12 quarterback, throw him on the SEC, on an SEC team with those kind of stats, and he's cooking. Like, if we had that Bo Nix at Auburn, it would be a whole different story.
You're right.
A whole different story. And same thing for Shador. Like, a lot of people counted him out just because he played at Jackson State. But dude's been putting up numbers in that offense. And another reason why I would say is the coaches. Look at the shift of coaches at the Pac-12 level. Yeah. Now, again, this is their final year there. But when you have somebody like a Lincoln Riley, when you have a Dan Lanning, you have Chip Kelly, one of the best offensive minds in college football. Those are some elite coaches over there. And I know a lot of love gets thrown around. I try to throw it everywhere around college football, but a lot of love is always thrown into SEC when it comes to coaching. But I'm more intrigued with the coaching matchups that I see at the Pac-12 versus what I see at the SEC. Because prior to what Eric is calling a dialed-in Nick Saban, which is almost blasphemy to me, but before that, you're talking about Saban being big brother to everybody. Like, it's no question, right? The only person who wanted smoke with Saban was Jimbo and Kirby low-key. You know what I'm saying? And then on the East, you're like, Kirby's just smacking around the rest of these guys. So it's not nearly as intriguing as the Pac-12. Pac-12 coaching matchups, you got some of the best young offensive minds in the game getting busy over there. Too. And shout out to Kyle Whittingham, coach for Utah. He's been there forever. He's a Utah lifer. He was an assistant under Urban Meyer. And I'm pretty sure a bigger program has called him before. He didn't even take the call. You don't see that anymore. So that's the reason why Pac-12 is definitely must-see TV.